Hey, New Life family. This is Joel here, just wanting to update you with where we're at in this crazy ongoing wild ride called COVID. I don't know what it's feeling like for you, but there's moments where it's like there's this excitement of breaking through or maybe things opening up and then stuff just shuts down once again. And I think it's really hard to live in that space. I think as a church, we're living with this hope of being able to get back into the building at some point in some fashion so we have some sense of normalcy. And yet, as I look at the landscape of what's going on with the ongoing reality of COVID and the things told to us by our county and state officials, that doesn't look like it's happening anytime soon. And with that reality, it feels like we can be caught in this in between space of getting our hopes up and then one more delay that just kind of depletes that feeling of hope. And that in between is not a great place to live. I remember years ago, I was out with a bunch of friends out at the beach, and the waves were huge on this day, like just epic waves. And we all love to swim, go body surfing out in the water. And so we just rushed out into the water and we were having a great time until we realized that these waves were fierce and there was a huge riptide undercurrent that no one knew what was going on. And it didn't take us very long to realize we're in serious trouble if we stay here. Like if we stay in the spot, because what was happening is we were caught in this kind of looping riptide. So a huge wave would come and smash over us as we tried to dive under. We'd come up for air, sucked into the wave, only to have another wave crash on us. And this happened in a repeating wave of like 7, 8 waves at a time. It was intense. It's one of the few times in my life swimming the ocean, I was actually scared. Are we going to make it? There was about 5 of us together in the water at the time. And I remember we would come under the water, go under the wave, a new wave would crash, scramble up for air, and look around and just do a head count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, but are we going to make it? I was afraid for myself. I was afraid for my friends. And there was this moment when we realized we can't stay here. We can't stay in this in-between place because we might actually die. But the current won't let us swim back to the shore where we're comfortable, where it started. We only have one real option. We need to swim out deeper. We need to get out past the crush of the waves into the deeper water because there we can at least hold together and weather this out. And so that's what we did. With everything we got, we kicked and swam ourselves out past the breakers into the deep water where we could catch our breath. Count 1, 2, 3, 5, 4, 5. We're all here. We made it. In New Life, I think that's what we need to begin doing as a church. We're in this weird in-between spot where we're holding out hope that we can get back together in the building. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon based on what we're seeing. And so we're stuck in this place of just kind of doing church and the way we tried to get it started in the season with doing some online services, but that was only meant to be temporary till we could get back. But I think we have to get out of this in-between feeling of stuck where we are, hoping to get back to the sand, to the building. And maybe what we need to do is embrace the reality that we might be here longer than any of us expected or wanted, and intentionally come together as a church, swim out into those deeper waters of figuring out how do we be church in this time when we cannot gather together the way we normally have. Now, I don't presume to have all the answers for that, but I think that's a shift in our thinking we have to make together, figuring out how to leverage the best of how we're doing our services so that it becomes meaningful for those of us participating in those services together. Figure out how to leverage the best of our community groups in this coming season so that this way of being church in a smaller pocket together becomes the best way we know how to walk together in the season. We need to figure out how to maximize what we're doing with our kids and our programming because all of that has been put on hold for so long. And yet there's these great families in our church that if we can figure out how to unleash our leaders and next gen, we might be able to do great things for our families as a church while we're out in the deep waters together. And so I'm asking you to begin to make the shift in your thinking with the rest of us, that we need to look at this as a long-term reality, even though it's not what we signed up for. Let me tell you, I didn't sign up for this. When Christy and I came to New Life and God brought us here, we had this expectation of him calling us here and jumping in and figuring out how we're going to be church with you, but no one saw this coming. And yet I have hope for us Because there are things that we discovered about New Life, about you, that drew us here in the first place as God brought us here, that I think are still true of who we are as a church. I mean, one of the things that drew us to New Life that we wanted to be a part of was, here's a church that really wanted to be something more than just for its own sake. A church that wanted to exist for the sake of others. And I think that can still be true of who we are if we can leverage some of our strategies a little bit better together. And let me tell you, God's already doing it. He's already on the move. We're seeing him do things. I had somebody reach out to me this week and just share that they had invited a friend who never came to New Life to come to the online service, and it was meaningful for them. We would never know that simply talking into a camera, and yet God's on the move. So how could we leverage more of how we do things like that on a Sunday service together by intentionally inviting friends to come and see for themselves and helping them find Jesus? But I know that's who we are as a church. I know that's who we can continue to be. Something else that drew us to New Life when we came was realizing that this is a church that really also wants to be for each other, taking care of one another. Man, I mean, we only had 6 weeks before shelter in place hit. But let me tell you, those 6 weeks, walking around the foyer, seeing the warmth and the genuine love and affection that all of you had was so inspiring. That doesn't change just because we can't be on our campus. We still have that ability to be for each other if we'll leverage our relationships and be much more intentional in this coming time of walking together, reaching out to one another. We may not all be able to be physically present with one another, but man, what if we all dialed up on purpose, reaching out to one another? We will walk through this season stronger together because that's who we are as a church. We're a church that exists to be for others, to share Jesus with our city and our county as we walk together, helping each other grow to become more like Jesus. See, this is going to be a hard season. None of us signed up for it, but I have hope for us because I believe in who we are and what I've seen and know to be true about us as his church in this time. And so over the next month, we're going to be strategizing, how do we take this new season reality and make ourselves stronger and better together? And as we begin to figure this out, I want to ask you to do a couple of things, super important things to partner with us as we move into this new way, a season of being church together. The first thing is this: pray. And that's not just words. I'm talking about pray. Like, pray that God would hold us together and strengthen us as his church in this time, because he's doing good things. And on the other side of this, he'll have good things for us. But we need to hold fast to one another and walk together and be for each other. So pray for us as leaders that we'll have the wisdom and courage and understanding of how to bring us together as a church in ways that work in this time. But also be praying for each other that God will give us the unity we need, because we're not all in the same space. And it's really easy to look at somebody who's experiencing COVID different than you and be upset by them or even get judgmental. That's not who we are. We are for each other. So let's be praying that God continues to do that work in us. And then the other way I want to ask you to partner with us in this time is to participate in the ways that we are experiencing and experimenting in being church together. Participate in being a part of your community group, even if you have to be digitally distant. That doesn't mean you have to isolate. Participate in continuing to contribute and give to the life of our church. We need to be strong financially as we go through this season, and we can do that together if we all play our part. If we're faithful to how God guides us in our giving, we'll have everything we need to make it through this time. Participate in the life of our church by coming to the things that we put together that you can, that drive-through party. I get it, not everyone will feel safe or can do it, but there's something really beautiful about seeing each other. And so maybe even just come and leave your windows up, but let yourself see your church and let your church see you as we walk through this time. And so I don't have it all figured out. We're working on it together as leaders, but I know that if we be who we are as a church and we lean into God together, we're going to see good things in the middle of this. And we're going to see the things he was doing in us on the other side. And so, New Life, let's be in this together. Let's walk through COVID with our heads held high because our God is for us, our God is with us, and he is going to do amazing things through us as his church in this time. We'll be in touch. Until then, I will see you Sunday, and I hope to see you at the drive-through party. God bless.